Welcome to the Con-Versation. You have me again this week because Greg has been bitten by like the bad luck bug. Yet last week he wasn't feeling good with his chemo treatment and kind of was having some things looked at. And this week he actually got in a car accident yesterday. But, you know, poor Greg, but lucky me, because Greg always leaves me with the most interesting and amazing author guests. So today I have joining me is Marina, and we're going to talk about just all the books that you've written, things that you enjoy, and we're going to get the conversation started. So Marina, thanks for joining me. How are you today?
Of course, I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on. And I am so sorry that Greg is having such a bad patch of luck.
I'm telling you that, man. I'm telling you, he is crazy. And, you know, he's going to South, I want to say it's South Dakota. He's going up to Black Hills Con, so he really didn't need this car accident. But, you know, I love Greg dearly, and I feel sorry for him, but I'm not sorry that he's not here, because I love doing these in meeting. I always get the best ones is what I tell him. So it's always so much fun for me. So Greg, we love you and we miss you, but I'm happy that I'm here. So tell us a little bit about what genre you write in and kind of when you started writing.
So I started publishing in 2012 or 13.
Okay.
I don't remember. And I've always so far stuck to literary fiction or contemporary women's fiction. So I've always had strong female characters. That was my most important thing. However, this project that I'm coming out with is the most personal project I've done to date. And it's something I've been sitting on, I'm not exaggerating, probably for about 20 years.
Okay.
And it's fictionalized memoir about my very first year in America. I came here in 94 and I was 11 and I turned 12 within the first couple of months. And it was a fairly unique year.
I bet. Yes.
I was wanting to share this for ages, and I wasn't brave enough. So I decided to fictionalize things here and there so, you know, people don't disown me. But I finally decided it was time. So this project is the most personal to me. I love all my books because they're all, you know, part of me. So of course I'm going to be biased and like them all for their own reasons. They're my babies. I've created them.
Right.
But this one is just so personal that I'm like giddy about it coming out. I'm giddy about sharing it.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. You know, I feel like authors, especially in the genre that you write in, you know, literary fiction and women's fiction, when you kind of dive into it being more personal and you don't want to hurt feelings, so you kind of fictionalize some of it, you know, maybe change the name here and there, depending on your relationship with that person. I think that it's, I understand like why you're giddy, and I could see where it would take 20 years, because that takes a lot of courage, and just, you know, because you're really kind of throwing it out there for people to read that you've experienced, you know, and you're going to get feedback and stuff on it. And so yes, I understand. I don't know if I'd ever be brave enough to do that. So kudos to you. I love it.
Thank you. I am like, this is going to be the first one that will also be available as an audiobook. It's the first one to feature a trailer. Like, this one is like, it's special. I want you to read them all, but this one is special.
Yeah, like I understand, because I mean, oh my gosh, I could only imagine, right? You had your birthday a couple months after you had moved here.
Yeah.
right? So you're already having, shell shock, culture shock, just everything, uprooting shock, right? And then you're going to celebrate your birthday, and so I can only imagine how difficult that would be, but what a great adventure and story that would make, because that has to be relatable for so many people.
I
So,
would imagine so because, first of all, there's that great, great, wonderful middle school age, which is difficult without any language barriers or cultural challenges. Um, but I had it all in one. There was also a family rupture happening at the time. Um, it was just a lot. So I've always said in the past that if I had a time machine, I would just go back and like surgically remove that here because it was just so, it was a lot. But now that I've gone back and written it, this has been so therapeutic and I see a lot of things differently. Um, I would imagine that it would be relatable, not just to immigrants, but it's a coming of age story that I
yeah.
think any anyone can relate to. But if you also come from a background of not necessarily first generation, but even, if your parents or grandparents had immigrated here, I think that will just be like a little cherry on top. You will understand some of their eccentricities, like why do we always doomsday things and like buy more things than we need? Because we can afford it finally and we have access to it and we want to stop buying
Right?
like crazy people.
Right? No, I get it. And so it makes me, just hearing your story, it makes me and my family. So my husband is a first generation Indian here, and his parents had an arranged marriage, and they're from India, South India. I want to say Tamil Nadu, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm just going to say South India to be safe.
Be
But
safe.
it makes me relate to them in a sense of like what their experience was like coming over here. They came for school, and then they had, my husband and their family, and they left their culture in a sense behind and came over here. And so I
Mhm.
can only imagine what that would be like, but I think it relates to kind of everyone. I feel like everyone kind of has that, even if you move just to a new state, because
Yeah,
it's different. Like in Texas down here, right? We're just, I don't know. It's a big, it's a big state, and you drive 12 hours, you're still in the damn state, right? But if I go to like New York or somewhere up north, I'm gonna feel like I'm completely out of my
and it'll
element.
be
And
a culture shock for sure.
right, and there's snow, and us Texans don't do good with snow. Okay,
Right.
we can't be
We were
cold.
worried about you guys a couple of years ago.
We were worried about ourselves. So we
I have a
can't, I'm
friend
telling
who
you, we can't handle those things. We have problems down here.
I have a
So,
friend who lives in Houston, and I was talking to her, and she's like, "The only one happy right now is my husky. He had the best time. That was like the best
yes.
week of his life because, like, Texas for a husky is difficult, but then there
Yes,
was this drop,
especially in
and she's like,
Houston.
yes,
Oh, especially in Houston because it's so humid, So I know, but I mean, they're all over. I mean, I live about 2.5 hours north of Houston. I live in a small town, where Texas A&M University is. So if you know of the Texas A&M University, the Aggies, gig 'em, I live in that city. And there's a ton of Huskies here, and I
oh
just want to go
wow,
give them a hug and be like, "I'm so
oh,
sorry."
yeah, just find a tiled floor and like nap for a while."
Right?
Uh,
Yes. Just I'm gonna douse you with water to cool you off, get you one of those cool pads for sure. But I think, kind of
well,
going back
like,
to
I came from the former Soviet Union. I was raised in Belarus, which
okay.
is sandwiched between like Russia and Poland.
Yeah.
Uh, so we had 4 seasons, which is generally like the way our climate is right now. It was maybe a little bit colder, but nothing crazy. But we come here, and for the first time in our lives, we experienced humidity. We came in the end of June.
Oh,
We
God.
physically did not comprehend it. Like I feel I'm hot, but it's a different kind of hot. Like I
Mhm.
physically did not understand what I was experiencing. Like, why am I
Yeah.
sticky. Like
Yeah,
it
you
was
just
the
feel wet
strangest
and you're
thing.
like, "This is awful." Or you have that dry heat where you're like, "I'm in an oven and I'm baking and I'm overdone." You know what I'm saying? Those are the 2 things that you get here in Texas, you know?
Oh my
So
god.
it's
Is there
very much
humidity
insane.
or no where you are?
Is it humid?
Mhm.
No. I
Okay.
mean, it's, the closer you get to the coast, the more humid it is, and then the more inland you get, the more dry desert heat of what everyone thinks Texas is, and, like, this big western just tumbleweeds, which if you go to
Mhm.
West Texas, that's true.
Oh,
So it's more like a dry, comfortable heat, but when it is 96 outside, there is a heat index of, like, 102,
oh my
104.
god.
It's
Oh,
it's
there is
one of
no
those
comfort
things,
in there.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying. So, like your book, year one, the one about your first year over here, I really feel like would apply to me moving to another state. So
Yeah.
I've been born and raised here in Texas. I've left twice for a couple of days. I have
Oh wow,
family.
really?
Yes, I have family in Louisiana, which is, like, right across the border, right? So
Close.
I go over there, and I've left one time to go to Detroit for 3 days for my husband's cousin's wedding. That was it, and I tell you, when I walked off the plane, because I did not check the weather up there, because it's, always sunny in Texas, it's always hot.
Uh-huh.
I didn't check my weather, and here I am in, like, a tank top and, like, looking and, I had, like, pinstriped tights on with some boots. I'm just like, yeah, let's do this, right? I think I was like
No.
23 at the time, and it's like freeze your butt off, okay? And I didn't have a jacket, I didn't have anything. It was November. I was like, oh, you get seasons. You get seasons here. Like I don't get seasons, so
Oh my
it was
god.
I froze my butt off. So I feel like your book is for someone like me that just can't leave their state because I have issues. I have issues. I don't know. It's a whole thing in and of itself,
Yeah,
but
and like you said, we build our expectations based on our experiences,
yeah.
and whatever fairy tales we built in our head, and then you get off a plane and you're like, "Oh, holy crap, that's not what I was expecting."
Exactly, right? I'm telling you, I must have been the talk of the airplane. They're like, "She's not from here." Like,
What is
I'm
with it?
not I'm not from here at all.
Does
No,
anyone
I'm
have an
not.
extra sweatshirt we can lend it?
Right? I mean, I needed it. It's just, it was like a whole thing in and of itself, but tell us or give us a little bit of teasers as to some of the things that you experienced that you have written in year one without giving too much away of what all kind of goes in, but some of the little nuggets that we can kind of take away that you experienced in your first year over, from the Soviet Union to America.
So weather and climate was definitely the first one because we just truly I woke up that first morning and was like, I am stuck to the sheets. I don't understand this. And we didn't um we didn't have money, and we lived
Mhm.
with my grandma for a few first weeks that we came, and she didn't have money. So she was mostly outfitted with things you got from the curb, which included at this window unit, which was completely new for me. It's like, what is this noisy box in the window?
Yes.
And
I get
I
it.
realized that was an air conditioner. I didn't know what that was either. School was very different.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so we didn't have, elementary, middle, and high. Um,
Okay.
it was just one. Well, right now I don't know how many grades they have, but when I left, it was 11 grades in Belarus. And I come here, and I very quickly am brought up to date that school goes till the end of June. There is elementary, middle, and high. And I'm supposed to skip a grade by my age. So enter panic of, not only do I not know English, now I have to skip a grade, because
Oh,
year wise I was supposed to enter seventh. I'm like, but I only finished five, and I had exactly 1 year of English instruction. And by that I mean, like, I had English twice a week. So like, I came here knowing, like, this is a cat. My name is Marina.
yeah.
And it didn't take me far.
Yeah. I get it. I get it.
We were in Brooklyn in the 90s. So, you know, big cities are always overpopulated, but it was also in the middle of a huge immigration wave, of which we were a part. So it was like super overpopulated. So
Mhm.
even entering this building, like, it only houses grade 6, 7, and 8, and it's enormous. I'm like, my old school housing, first through 11th, was so much smaller. There was a lot of overwhelm. There were funny misunderstandings throughout. I tried to keep, and so far, for my advanced readers, I'm happy to hear that it comes off the page that, um, so far it's been described as hilarious and heartbreaking, or heartwarming and heartbreaking. Because I do try to keep it light with my, self-deprecating sense of humor, and I
Okay.
tried to keep as close as I could to a younger voice, but still with some perspective of my 40-year-old self. So there were a few, like, I don't want to give them away, but there were a few really funny misunderstandings. One of them really scared my school secretary rather, who I I meant one thing, but
Came out a different way.
oh my god, it was this poor woman, like, was this close to calling 911. Um
I feel like we've all had those instances. We're like, no, I don't mean it that way. I meant this way. Okay. Read my mind.
in my defense, I've recently I work as a substitute teacher, and I recently did have a sixth grader who went to the nurse telling her that she's nauseous, and it turned out that all she meant was a headache, and she just genuinely did not know what nauseous was. So that made me feel a little better, because I thought it was just me who misused vocabulary in middle school. Apparently, it's more common than I thought.
Yes, everybody, everybody, everybody. I think that's one of those. Um, I think that's one of those things that makes experiences, but kind of like your, coming over here in your adventure. One of those things where you just have to find humor in it because if not, it's just like every day would just be like, man, what the hell? So you
Yeah.
have to find humor and like, well, I'm not the only one that's done that. Like, all right, high
And
five,
it's
we're friends.
years later, but, like, she made me feel so much better. I'm like, "You have no idea what I'm talking about, but you just made me feel so much better with your mistake." Because, like, in my head, like, I still kept, like, hear it ringing, like, 29 years later, like,
Right? I mean, it's
my
the memories
silliness.
you have.
It's truly, truly amazing, and, like, like, I have, an Apple Watch, and when I was writing certain scenes, my watch was giving me exercise points, because I guess my heart rate would go up.
Nice. Okay,
Uh,
that's double benefit there. Double benefit.
exactly. So I'm like, "See, so I'm not only, like, exercising this, my watch thinks I'm actually exercising."
Yes, I love it.
It
I
it
love it.
it was really a rad experience,
I
like,
love it.
going, like, back.
So when did your because I was reading in, the description that Greg had that you enjoy baking. Is that
Yeah.
correct? So where did that enjoyment or love for baking because we had kind of talked before, I'm dabbling in it, but I'm a cheater. I buy the cake mix and I put them in the mini buntinis so I don't feel so bad eating 3 or 4 of those instead of a big slice of cake. I don't feel bad.
Visually, that's all you see, so
Yeah, it's psychological for me, but when did that kind of love or enjoyment kind of come about for you?
I have to admit I'm not a big cooking person. Like, I always said that if I lived by myself, I would probably just eat cereal. Like, the idea of cooking for myself just isn't that appealing for me. But
Mhm.
baking is different. Like, I do have a sweet tooth, but I think it also has to do with the fact that you have to be precise in baking. Like, in cooking, you can kind of, like, get away with, like, like, gauging things visually.
Yes.
Baking is much more precise,
Okay.
and I think I like that. I like that, like, here's a recipe, and you follow it, and you're not guaranteed to get results, because in my case, at least, like, visually, things never come out nice. Like, they'll taste good, but they will kinda look like crap.
Those
So
are the best though. Those are the best. If it's visually eye appealing and stuff, I question whether or not it tastes good. I like it where it just looks like an explosion. You're like, I know that was. great. You know what I'm
There
saying?
was no focus expanded on the physical appearance, right?
Right?
Like
Yes.
you mentioned that you do piping and stuff. I'm bad with decorating. My stuff is more like muffins and pies and like things like that. Stuff where I don't have to use like icing and creams because I would
Okay.
screw them up.
See, I
So
need you. So when I was pregnant with my second, I didn't realize I was pregnant with my second, but I got like this pie baking bug. And that's all I made. I made a crap ton of pies and they weren't good. I tried to home make an apple pie and I don't know why. It just, you could see the apples through the top. Like just nothing worked. I tried to make a pecan pie and it would just burn or it would be so gooey that you're like, this is soup, Amy. And you're like, well, I don't know what I did. So I
honestly,
can't, I'm telling you, box mixes are Amy's thing. I can do those. I can't make pies to save my life. I don't know what the deal. It doesn't taste as good as like to me a Mrs. Smith, apple pie. I'm like, well, how do you do? I
well,
don't know
you
how
know
to
what?
do that.
I'm gonna send you a recipe for like an Eastern European apple pie. It's totally different.
Okay.
And there is like no way to mess it up.
Okay. See, I like those where it's like foolproof because I'm the
Yep.
fool that will mess it up. So I like it when it's like that. That makes me very
I will
happy.
send it to you. I love it, and it's like super rich in apples, but there's no like the crust. Like it always like the trick is always on the crust. This one is it doesn't involve crust.
Even better.
It's
You had
just like
me at
a
no
whole bunch
crust.
of apples and some like eggy dough, and it's just delicious.
There you go. You had me at crust. Okay, we didn't have to do that because that just
Yeah,
no,
crust
no.
is hard. I More often than not, if I have to make something with crust, I wind up getting the frozen one from Trader Joe's
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and just do that.
I'm telling you, I have a love-hate relationship with pie making. And who would have thought, right? Who would have thought? Like I don't like pumpkin pies. So
Oh,
I don't do
really?
yeah, so I don't like pumpkin, right? So I won't make those. But my husband loves a key lime pie, and that's the only pie that I can do that's like
Okay,
foolproof. And it's
that's
because
awesome.
I don't think you have to bake it. I think you just freeze it. I don't think you bake it. I
Do you
think
make
that's
that
my
crust?
thing. What'd you say?
Do you make that crust or do you buy it?
No, girl, I buy it. It's like a simple Amy buys it. Amy buys it
Well,
for
if you
sure.
guys ever find yourselves in Brooklyn, there's this incredible key lime pie place
Okay.
that is like world famous. There's like a line and everything, and it's worth it.
Okay. I
So
like it. I don't mind lines. I can do lines. I'm a patient person, okay? I have 2
nice.
toddlers. I can do this. I can survive. So
See, I'm a
when does
hypocrite
your year
queen.
1 come out?
So it's currently available for pre-order for Kindle.
Okay.
So you can order it today and it'll be automatically delivered to your Kindle on June 21st. And I have my proof copy of the physical, so it has that like not for sale thing. This is what it looks like, the paperback edition. That will be available June, June 26th,
Nice.
which happens to be my Americaversary. 29 years ago on June 26th is when I landed in JFK Airport and was deeply confused as to where the end of the plane is because there were no air stairs and
Mhm.
kept walking and
Yep.
walking. And my exhausted, sweaty 11-year-old self was like, how long is this plane? We're still on the plane. And then there were all these people, right? And like different agencies, because we came here as refugees. There were agencies like sticking paperwork into my dad's hands. And I'm like, how did they get on the plane? This
Yeah.
long, endless plane. So that was June 26th of 94. So I wanted to time it to that. And the cover is actually based on my very first picture in America. So like
Oh, wow.
this side is the picture and what the artist did. Um, since it's a fictionalized memoir, she kind of blurred this side and kept this as true to the photograph as possible. So
I love
I'm
it.
biased, but I'm in love with this baby, and I hope others will too. I hope they'll find um, information as well as just understanding of themselves and of others through it.
Yeah. Well, you picked a good month because June is my birthday month.
Oh,
And my you see you came on the 27th of 94. So I was born on the 30th of 92.
oh wow.
When I
Oh
was
my
born.
goodness.
But
Oh,
the
you're
that's it's like June's like my thing. Like June is my month. I love it and I celebrate all month long. So I'm excited
so
that
we're
it was June and
exactly
it
at the
literally
same
was like
mark.
3 months before my birthday. And so I
Yes,
think that that's such a beautiful thing. And so is it available on Amazon? We can go to Amazon and we can
yes,
pre-order
and
it.
it will. Yes, the Kindle is. You can go and look for Marina Raydun Year One, and you can pre-order it today. And the paperback edition June 26th, and the audio version probably later this month as well. That's still being worked on by an engineer, so we're still
In
dealing with
limbo.
deadlines, but we're hoping to fit it in this month as well, and have an incredible actress who is my voice, because people are like, why didn't you read your own book? And I'm like, I don't think you want to listen to this for like 9 hours. Like, let someone who does that for a living do that.
Right, now I get it, like, I get it, like, on the shows and, like, this one, I won't go back and rewatch them, I don't wanna listen to myself, you know? So
Isn't it funny
I
how no
understand.
one likes their own voice?
I totally get it. I understand 100% how you feel. But Marina, thank you for taking time out of your day to come and talk with me. Greg, I got another good one. Greg, and I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. But I will say that I am very excited about your book. And I know that it's been a long time in the making and it takes a lot of courage to put that kind of book out and to write it. So I understand why it took such a
Yeah.
long time. And so I'm very excited. So you guys, Greg will be posting the Amazon link for you guys to go and purchase, do your pre-order for this book and read it because we can all relate to this book, whether it's another country, another state, or another city. We all experience these things very similarly.
Or if you've just been a middle schooler.
Yes, I'm telling you, middle school's hard. It's hard. It's if not, it's harder than high school, to be honest. Because by
Okay,
high school,
for
you're just
sure.
like, I'm over all of y'all. I'm done. You know.
Yeah, for sure. It is the hardest age, definitely.
It is for sure. But you guys, Greg will be back next Tuesday with more conversations and the con hour. But until then, bye everybody.
Bye.